World Foundation. I will say, though, students, in this introduction, I'm excited because her full title is Princess Aaliyah Pandolfi, and it's the first time I've had someone who's a descendant of royalty be one of the presenters for our internship fair, which is pretty cool thing, and she'll explain a little bit more about that perhaps. But also, this is probably one of the more unique companies that I've had the privilege of introducing. The Kashmir World Foundation does a lot of great integration of academics and computational thinking. Um, to help out endangered species, and so it's a really neat and cool combination of a lot of concepts and and principles all coming together. So I'm excited to share and to listen to Princess Aaliyah Pandolfi, and without further ado, I will hand it over to her. So thank you, students, and I'll be monitoring the chat.
Thank you so much, Grant. I appreciate the introduction, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you to all the students who are taking time out of their day to be here as well. So I'm excited to hopefully give you guys a little bit more information about our internship program, and hopefully some of you will be really excited and perhaps consider joining the program as well. I'm going to just start sharing my screen. If you guys do have questions as I'm talking, please feel free to put them in the chat box. And Grant, I don't mind if you want to just let me know that we've got a question, and I could stop and answer those questions even during the presentation. I'd rather make this a little bit more casual and let you guys like jump in and just ask questions as needed versus waiting until the end. So let's get started. Right, can you guys see my screen? I can't see you anymore, so you'll just have to say yes or no.
I can see it. I think
Okay. All right. Awesome. Okay. Well, Kashmir World Foundation is a nonprofit organization, and I'm excited to be able to share our internship program with you guys and thank Elevate Loudoun's internship fair today for having me here. I actually have had the privilege of working with students all over the world, and I love it. I feel really honored to be part of this. And I think, as Grant mentioned, yes, I do come from a family that was once the royal family of Kashmir. So it is really interesting, but I consider myself a working princess. So I think I probably work a lot harder than maybe some of the people that worked for my family. But I don't mind. I think, it's important to do something good and give back regardless of where you are in your life, what space you are in life. So I am lucky to be able to have a nonprofit organization that designs and develops custom robotic systems, but also my passion, which is to help wildlife and especially endangered species all over the world. And I really would not be able to do that without the help of amazing interns from around the world. This is actually a pretty old photo from Thomas Jefferson High School. These are all interns that I had that were at TJ, except for this guy right here. Actually, he went to Heritage High in Loudoun County, so it's nice to be able to come back and present for Loudoun County students as well. Now I'm going to jump right into some of our projects and what we do with those projects. So protecting snow leopards is one of our current active projects that we're working on. There are a couple of different things that we're doing, but the one that you guys would be interested in would be our AI model, where we are trying to detect and identify species that are found on camera traps. So currently, the way biologists do sea turtle monitoring is by placing camera traps in the field, but when they go out into the field and place those camera traps in the field, they don't have any AI capability where it's processing any data at all. So they have to get the SD card back from the camera trap and then look through every single image, and sometimes it's thousands and thousands of images that they have to go through for one study, because they could have anywhere from 10 cameras to, let's say, over 100 cameras for a study that they're doing. And usually the study is about 60 days, 40 to 60 days. So they'll go back midway, so anywhere from 20 to 30 days to get the SD card, switch it out for a new SD card, and then the third time they go back to the field, they take down the camera. And then once again, they have more images from that. So what we've been trying to do is develop a model that allows them to take the SD card, just put it in their computer, open up the AI portal, and it automatically sorts the images, identifies the species. Currently, our team has been working on identifying 7 species, because that's most of the data that we have from our partner is for snow leopards and goats and yaks and pikas and some birds, and foxes and a couple of other animals that we have. So we're using those images from actual camera traps to actually train our model, and then testing to see what our accuracy is. So this is actually one of the images from our detection where we're able to detect the snow leopards pretty accurately. It's the smaller animals that are a bit difficult to detect, as well as some of the ones that camouflage really well, which are birds and stuff. So we do then get into a little bit more technical aspect of what needs to be done to be able to detect those. But overall, it's really the detection and identification of the species and sorting them into the correct folders. So it saves a lot of time for the biologist. Another project which is going to get tied into our AI portal is what I was talking about, that when the biologists go out into the field, they actually place the camera trap in the field. And as they place a camera trap in the field, they have to record certain information like the GPS location of that camera. And they're literally handwriting this information. What type of environment is it? What type of oil are they going to be putting around the camera trap to attract the animals to it, and a few other questions. So they handwrite that information and then take it back to their office and type that information in, and then share it with their team. So what we've been working on is designing a wildlife GeoSnap app. That's the name of it. We're designing this app so it allows them to easily enter the information from that form into this app. And then as soon as they have internet access, it can send that data back to their central station. So that allows everybody else that's working together to be able to say, oh, okay, Ron's done over here and Aaliyah's done over here, and looks like, Tom is still working in the field on being able to place his camera trap. So it helps coordinate the team. It speeds up the process and makes it a lot more efficient. And then a lot of times when they're writing down the latitude and longitude location of where they place the camera traps, they might get some numbers wrong, sometimes writing that number or sometimes typing it in when they come back from the field. And then that can really throw off where they think the camera trap is. So they might go back into the field thinking, oh, it's 32.79993 and 28.331, but it might have been 73 and 28 or something like that, right? So that can take them to a totally different location looking for that camera trap, and they're never going to find it. So this will help them easily collect that information from their phone of where the camera trap is. And then also we're going to be integrating a live kind of a live grid system, which allows them to see on the map where they're supposed to be placing the camera trap. So prior to actually going in the field, they have to plan where those camera traps are going to go. And then once they get in the field, they realize, oh, I can't put it here, but this looks like a better location. Let me put it here. But what happens is they're outside that grid of their research, and now that entire data can be thrown out because that one camera trap was not inside the grid of the research area. So therefore it doesn't qualify. So now they have to redo that entire thing. So this will allow them to see when they're outside that grid of their research, or if they're inside, but they're able to move around to a location that they can easily place the camera trap. So this is another project that we are working on with the snow leopard. And our third project that I wanted to talk to you guys about was our Michelle Sea Turtle Drone project. And this is a really fun and interesting one for us as well, because actually next week I'm going down to Florida and I'll actually be meeting with one of my interns who's coming from the Netherlands. And we're going to be collecting some data on the beach. So I'm pretty excited about that, to be able to get back into the field after several years of not being able to travel and get in the field and collect data. So basically, the Sea Turtle project is focused on helping biologists. Most biologists walk the beach and look for turtle tracks, and then once they find the turtle tracks, they look for the nest. And in this image, that's actually the nest that the turtle made and laid the eggs inside that nest. So ultimately, the goal is to find the nest. So with our project, we're able to fly up and down the beach and detect sea turtle tracks, and then identify which species those tracks belong to. So if you look over here, that's a track right there, and then this is telling me that it's a green turtle track. So more than likely, the turtle that laid this nest here is a green turtle. But we need more data on these tracks to be a little bit more accurate. So I think if you go back to the snow leopard image, it was detecting it at 93%. But this one, this track here, it's thinking at 34%. But then this one over here says 71%. So overall average, we're in that 50-ish range of accurately detecting which species it is. There are 7 different species of turtle tracks, so it's not as extensive as the number of species we're going to be detecting in the Himalayan region, but we still need a lot of data to be able to detect it. So we're always refining and trying new methods of training the data. So currently, one of the methods is to just remove the color and just go black and white, because we are literally just detecting a pattern more so than an object, which would be different in color and stuff. And what that will do is it'll just help us speed up the process of processing a black and white image versus a colored image. So there's always ways of how we have to go back and say, okay, the results are there, but they're not that great. Let's modify and retry and go back and forth. And then of course, the more data we have, the better the accuracy is. So ultimately, with Michelle, biologists can automatically program her to be able to fly up and down the beach. And then because we do real-time onboard processing, we'll be detecting and identifying the tracks and then providing the GPS location of where the turtles laid their nests to the biologist. And then the biologist can go and do their part. Depending on where in the world they have different requirements. So working on St. Catherine's Island in Georgia, they actually have to relocate their nest. So they literally take out all the eggs and move them to another location, usually because they have a lot of erosion on their beaches. So the next high tide, if the nest is laid in an area where the next high tide would wash that nest away, the biologist would actually end up then relocating them. But they only have a total of 21 miles of beach that they work on St. Catherine's Island. However, one of our partners in Florida, Melbourne, Florida, they actually have 40 miles of beach that they cover every single day. And they have a lot more turtles in the thousands, like up to 20,000 turtles that they can nest on that range. Whereas on St. Catherine's Island, they might have 300-ish turtles if it's a good year. So that's why they have to relocate. In Florida, they don't relocate. And then we have partners in Mexico and in Costa Rica, and some of them do night monitoring versus day monitoring. So our drone has to evolve. Not only should we be able to look in the visible band, but we want to be able to look in infrared or perhaps even thermal band, especially once we start working with hatchlings that mostly hatch at nighttime. So the project does evolve over time. So we start with a small accomplishable mission and then expand to add more things that the drone will ultimately be able to do with its onboard processing. The third project is kind of different, but I thought it would be fun to bring up with you guys. It's not a pure computer science related project, but it really does bring together the art, the storytelling and programming in a video game. So we've been working on this video game since last year, and I know it's a long process. This is the first time I don't even play video games. So this was the first time jumping into a new project that I had no background on whatsoever. But I've got these amazing, amazing, amazing interns that I work with that mostly do all of the work on it. But I kind of oversee the entire project. And we have a team that works on designing, modeling, programming, and storytelling, and essentially everything that the video game will need. It's a computer-based video game versus a phone-based. So the audience will be slightly different, but the goal is really to help educate anybody that's going to be playing the video game, whether it's a student or an adult, it doesn't matter to us, but really educate them about the technologies that are available for wildlife conservation, counter poaching work. But all of the games are really going to be based on KWF projects, which is kind of fun as well. So it's another way of us being able to create the awareness about our projects, but at the same time engaging people that might not maybe read a flyer or something and be interested, or just go to the website and be interested, but being really engaged in the technology, the evolution of the technology, the different types of people that have to work together to actually design and develop and bring certain technologies to the field, and then ultimately continue evolving it. So this is the fourth project I wanted to talk to you about. Now you're thinking, well, what are the skills that I might have which would help with these different projects? So there are two computer vision projects that I talked to you guys about. One is our snow leopard project of detecting and identifying species, and then the other one was the sea turtle project of detecting and identifying sea turtle tracks. Both of those primary language that you would need is Python, and the CNN that we work with is called YOLO, which stands for You Only Look Once. The good thing about YOLO is there are lots and lots and lots of video tutorials that are out there that are easy to follow along. There's a lot of documentation, and it's a pretty well developed CNN that is now being even used more. And the reason we chose YOLO is because it was the only CNN that can actually process and detect literally like real time versus the lag of a few minutes or something, especially since we're processing data on board the aircraft. We don't collect the data and then bring it back and process it on the computer. That would be easy. We could go with a lot of other CNNs, but we chose YOLO because it was fast enough to process that data on board. So we could have a Raspberry Pi on board, and they have a version called Tiny YOLO as well. So that's even faster, but it's obviously not going to be as accurate as the full-blown mainstream YOLO. But you can move to a Jetson board or some other high-performance small computer that would then ultimately be on the drone and processing it in real time. And then the second project that I discussed was our app project. And for that, the primary language we're looking at is Java, and the software we use is Android Studio. Once again, it's another readily available, lots of documentation on it, and it's the most, I think, easily accessible to people around the world that would actually be using the app as well. And that's why we chose to work with Android versus iOS. But ultimately, when we're done with it, we do want to create an iOS version of the Wildlife GeoSnap app as well. And the third one that I talked about, if you guys are interested in gaming, we are looking to bring in interns that have C# as their programming language skills, and then the software is Unity. So Unity is like the back end of what the front end basically sits on. So you would be working with other computer scientists that are working to actually make everything move on the forefront. But if you have an interest in modeling or character design or even writing or anything else, you are more than welcome to apply for the game development team, because it's just so many different skill sets that we actually need for that particular project that you would definitely be welcome to join it, even if you are doing computer science, but you're also an artist as well, and you really want to get into the side of modeling. It is a 3D video game, but it is low poly, so we can finish it faster was ultimately our goal with it. And then another thing I want you guys to think about, instead of thinking about, well, I don't have the skills that you might be looking for, don't worry about that. I want you to, think about your life as a whole. And one of the important things is, how do you transfer skills? And I'm going to give you an example. Actually, the little girl here is my daughter. Her name is Kashmir, and I think she was, I don't know, 7 maybe, or 6 maybe in this photo. But she started building her first drone when she was 5 years old. So now she's our junior scientist, and she's also a drone engineer. She knows how to build and fly drones, and she's going to be helping collect data on the beach for our sea turtle project this time as well. So I think, the point that I'm making is, one of the things I learned from her when she was maybe, I don't know, 3 years old, is she was in an art class, and her teacher said to me, Kashmir said the most interesting thing today. And I realized how she's transferring knowledge from a completely different field to art, for instance. And it was kind of simple. It was a Halloween project, and they were making this spider. And at the end of the spider's leg, they were using a little bead to say, okay, that's like the foot of the spider, or like the end of the spider leg. And Kashmir was like, oh, that's kind of like a period at the end of a sentence. So if you, just listen to a 3-year-old putting this idea together, it is really interesting. And I think, it continues through our life. A lot of times we learn skills in one field, whether it's playing video games, or whether it's playing a sport outside, or other hobbies, or music, or anything that you're learning, or you're applying yourself to. I feel like, those skills can easily be transferred into a completely different field without even you understanding it or realizing it. And then, it's a little bit easier, or it appears to be a little bit easier, because you're able to take that knowledge from somewhere else and bring it into an area that you're new, or you're working towards. So one thing that I think, we always talk about STEM education, but perhaps not necessarily transferring skills or interdisciplinary education of how does everything really just tie in together. And that's what we focus on at Kashmir World Foundation is, you could be good at one thing, but maybe you want to try something else and apply yourself to that. And a lot of times, you find that, wow, I enjoy programming, but I like modeling better. And if I model, then I can go back and still do the programming for the model I created, because I appreciate both sides. So my daughter always ends her presentations with, you shouldn't limit yourself, because she's a physicist also. So she's like, the universe is yours to explore, and it's still expanding. So why should we stop learning? And there's my short talk for you guys about our projects. My information, you could reach out to me directly. I would be happy to talk to you guys about it. And, we have other projects and programs as well, if you're interested in those. So I can, meet with you guys, and you tell me what it is that you're working on, and we can go from there. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have, or questions that I might have missed while I was talking.
I have a question.
Sure.
Would you guys be interested in aerospace engineers to help your efforts?
Yes, absolutely. Are you studying aerospace engineering?
Yeah, actually, I was planning on. I'm a 10th grader, so I had a deep interest in aerospace engineering, and it kind of got me thinking how it could help. Like,
Oh,
why
that
would
would be awesome. Yeah, absolutely. We have a drone program right now, and actually, you could easily jump into it because it is virtual. One of my best aerospace engineers is actually based in Brazil. Lucas is absolutely amazing, and he's been working with software to actually design the aircraft. So yeah, if you want to reach out to me, I can talk to you more in detail about the Eagle Ray project.
Okay, I'd be interested in that. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
I'm also going to put my contact information in this chat box here.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. Ritvik had a question about being a nonprofit. How were you able to attract professional engineers and scientists?
I think honestly, it's the projects. I think they're interested in the projects and the outcome of what it is that we're trying to accomplish. That helps us capture a lot of really diverse audience of individuals from all over the world. We also have a division called like the Technology Assisted Counter Poaching Network, and that is a network of scientists and engineers from around the world that actually contribute their skill sets for our projects because they care about the mission of protecting endangered species. So they might have background in setting up a mesh network somewhere in the middle of the forest, or they might have a background in, how do you hide solar powered camera stations so people don't steal them from the field, or security or other areas as well. So those are our advisors to the foundation. But then I think we get a lot of students from around the world that really like the mission of the organization, and it allows them to work on the skills that they want to build for their career as well. Iman, if you want to just send me an email, you can send me an email with your resume or information about what project that you're interested in. And then, we'll go from there. If you don't have a resume, don't worry about it. Just send me an email. Let me know you're really interested in working in the internship. If you know what internship you want to do already, just write that in as what you'd like to do. If you don't know but you do want to apply, just say, I don't know what I want to apply for, but I am interested. I'll be happy to talk to you about it, and then we can go ahead and find the best place for you to be.
Yeah, thank you for that. And Eamon, I would, along with everybody, I would go ahead and fill out the form, the Google form that's going to be sent to you by Christina Lee, so that we can keep track kind of on our own internally of who is interested in what. But go ahead and welcome to reply or email directly with Mrs. Pandolfi as well. Let's see. Keva and Kartika, go ahead and you can ask your questions.
Yeah, so hello, I loved your presentation, first of all. I thought it was really great. And I had a similar question of what Cyrus had too. So a lot of the projects had like a lot of computer science in it as well. And I was wondering if you guys had like a mix of projects that had engineering as well in it, or if it's more focused on like computer science in itself.
No, we do have engineering as well. Like I said, we do design and develop our own custom drones, and that requires a lot of engineering as well. And then we have our control systems team, which kind of like merges computer science with the engineering design to make hardware, software communicate with each other as well. So we definitely would have both the engineering as well as control systems opportunities as well.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hello, my name is Kartika, and I just want to say I love your mission with like conservation and stuff, and also I'm very passionate about that too. So yeah, I think that's really cool. I just had a question about like, what are usually like the time frames of like your internships, and like what if like I really like it when I do it this year? Could I do it again next year, or is it just like you can do it how long you want to do it?
Great question. We actually have two different options for our internship. Our open internship, where you literally can start and end whenever you want. And I have interns that have been with me for 2-3 years, maybe 4 years, and sometimes they'll even come back after they've graduated and work on a project as well. So, we don't really have a time limit on how long. And the other option is actually an accredited internship. I don't know if Loudoun County has anything related to work experience internship where you also get credit at school, as well as you get to work on a project, and then you're going to have a report of what you did during that internship period and submit it to your teacher, and then you just get credit for a project or a class or something like that. Both, I do that with high school as well as college students as well. So yes, to answer your question, open internship. You could start in whenever you want. The hours are flexible. I don't have any minimum requirements you have to work, because a lot of my interns are in school or in college when they are doing internship. Usually we meet as a team once a week online, and then you guys kind of have your assignments. And then if you want to take a week or two off for midterms or finals, that's perfectly fine. You just give me a heads up on that. And that is usually not an issue.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Good questions. We have a couple more good questions in the chat. Shreyas was asking, will there be a chance for interns to go into the field for projects like the sea turtle path tracking one? I'm assuming this is related to your story you told about your
Yes.
student from the Netherlands being able to go to Florida.
Right.
So I'll let you answer that one.
Sure. Okay. So yeah, this is so next week I'm going to meet one of my interns from the Netherlands, but I have had interns from Virginia. 4 of my interns went one summer to Mexico with us for our sea turtle project, and that was really exciting because I think a couple of them were able to do 2 parts. One, which was we were teaching our Fly for Conservation drone workshop for researchers and biologists there. And then once we were done with the workshop, we actually went into the field with our biologist team and taught them how to fly the drone on the beach and also collected data from that. So 4 of my interns from Virginia actually did go on that trip. So yes, it is actually possible for you guys to be able to get in the field on certain trips that we do have. And we can talk about that if and when that opportunity arises for you if you are an intern at KWF.
Thank you. So I'm gonna pair up 2 questions. Alejandro and Adithi were asking, are there age requirements for any of the internships? And then another one was more specific. If you do the open-ended option, do you get to kind of choose whether the internship is during the school year, or can it just be for the summer?
So you can do just a summer internship if you wanted to do that. You could also do a through the school year internship if you wanted to do that. So for example, age requirement, I'm going to lump this into this answer as well. So my intern that's coming from the Netherlands, his internship, his school required that he has to have an internship where he actually has to go out of the country and go there for 2 weeks to whoever they're interning with. He chose us as his internship opportunity. And instead of waiting until just that 2-week period he needed to do to kind of fulfill his school's requirements, he was like, I love the mission of the project. I really want to jump into it now. Can I get started now? And this was back in September, I think, last year. And he's only 15 at the time. He's 16 years old now, but he's still traveling alone and coming to the US, to Florida. And then from Florida, he's going to be in Virginia as well for another week. So 1 week in Florida and then 1 week in Virginia. I think that answered your questions.
Yeah, that was helpful. And I'm going to also combine 2 other questions as well. Anish was asking about needing engineering skills to pair with computer science skills. And then Shreyas was asking, can interns work on multiple projects at once?
Okay, great questions. So I'm going to answer the first one, engineering, and combining it with computer science. So actually, my intern in Brazil, Lucas, he is an aerospace engineering student who also happens to be a computer scientist. And I will tell you, it couldn't have been a better situation, because not only was he able to work on the engineering and the aerodynamics of this aircraft, which is a blended wing body aircraft. Cyrus, for you, especially because I know you asked about that. But it was really nice to see, like, he was really passionate about the engineering of aerospace. And then he also, because he has Python and programming experience, he was able to work on the back end because he had to mesh he had to kind of mesh the software of the drone with the software of being able to do a flight testing, but not necessarily like in a tunnel, because now it's all virtual, right? You're like working, everything you're working on is on in a software. So he's able to like create the drone in one particular software, and then he had to transfer over to another software, and now he actually has to use drone kit to mesh the two together and then also integrate the AI. But then the computer science team is going to be part of that integration. But because he had that computer science background, he was able to literally do all of that. Whereas a lot of my aerospace engineering students literally might just have an interest in building a wing only, for example, right? Just the engineering of that one wing or fuselage or a propeller or just one component, or perhaps like something like that. Versus I have computer science entrants that would know nothing at all about drones, so they wouldn't necessarily be able to mesh the two together. But you can mesh or combine two different projects within one if you wanted to do that, if you had the skill sets, especially because it is complicated. You do have to have both of those skill sets, but it's not, it's not impossible. It's definitely doable, especially with Lucas's example. And Don, who's coming from Netherlands, he's been working with Lucas because they're going to be working on integrating Drone Kit, which is the computer science part, the AI part of Michelle, with this drone as well. So it is happening, and it's part of that. I think I answered the question. Was there a second follow-up question with that? Virtual, yes. So all of our internships are virtually available, especially right now. They for the last couple of years they have been virtual, but we've always had virtual internships because we work internationally and I work with students all over the world. So that would give you guys an opportunity to work with students around the world as well.
Thank you for that. So students, we are going to be wrapping up. I wanted to end with one last question that from David that I think is pretty poignant. David's asking about any training that's provided, or Ms. Pandolfi, you gave in your presentation a number of different of programming languages and other software skills that students will be working with. Are you wanting students to apply who already have some fluency in these languages, or what? David's asking if any training will be provided.
So, David, I would like to say that I think you would have to be willing to learn, because no amount of training ever can have people learn to do something, right? So it's really more about your ability to want to learn. If you want to learn to program, and you've got a project ahead of you, you're going to end up spending the time you need to learn Python, for example, right? To learn YOLO, but we could give you all the training in the world, but if you're really not there, it doesn't matter if you already knew Python, you're just not going to make that kind of progress. So I would encourage students that are really passionate about learning and growing their skill sets to apply, versus you already have skill sets and now you're applying because you have those skill sets. Don't feel, afraid to apply if you don't have the skill sets yet. I think, part of doing the internship is really to just jump in. It's just like swimming, you have to get in the water to start to swim. All the explanation of watching videos on YouTube on how to code and everything else is nothing like actually working on a project and then seeing that, okay, everything I learned, it's not exactly what I thought it was going to be, and you're figuring it out as you go. And I think that's really the best way to learn. So don't be afraid, just apply.
That's a great end there, Mrs. Pandolfi. Students, per usual, you all asked great questions. You were very attentive. Thank you so much. And also thank you, Ms. Pandolfi, for introducing us to the Kashmir World Foundation and a lot of great opportunities going on for internships here. Students, definitely think about this, do some research. Great website here, again, that's been posted in the chat, as well as Ms. Pandolfi's contact information for further information. Look out for a Google form from Mrs. Christina Lee, who's been the main contact for this. and we'll be making sure that we track what you're interested in and who's applying where. So awesome. Thank you so much again, Aaliyah, Pandolfi, and students. This was great. I know I learned a lot. I hope you did too.
Right. Thank you guys so much. Have a good week. Take care.
Bye, everyone.